The sky over Arctis 4 was red with fire. Smoke rose in thick clouds from the battlefields below, and the distant sound of explosions shook the ground. The war between humans and the Girons had lasted 5 long years. Every planet, every settlement, and every field seemed to have seen death and destruction. Humans had fought bravely, but the Girons were relentless. They were stronger, faster, and their technology seemed almost magical among the human forces. A soldier named Rion fought with a quiet courage that earned him the respect of everyone around him. He was not the strongest or the fastest, but he had a sharp mind and an unbreakable will. Rion had led many missions, often against impossible odds, and somehow he had always survived. But this battle was different. Rion's unit had been sent to the plains near Arctis IV's equator. Their mission was simple in theory: strike at a Giron supply base and slow the enemy's advance. But the Girons had been expecting them. As soon as the humans entered the area, the ground shook with the arrival of massive Giron war machines. The soldiers fired their weapons, energy beams slicing through the dust, but it was not enough. One by one, Rion saw his comrades fall. He ran through the burning battlefield, dodging blasts and leaping over burning wreckage. His heart pounded with fear, but he did not stop. Humans did not give up. They never did. He reached a ridge where he could see the Giron commander, a towering figure with shining armor and glowing eyes. The commander raised his weapon and fired a blast that cut through the ridge, sending rocks and dust into the air. Rion felt the heat on his back and knew he could not outrun it. Then a strange thing happened. A massive shockwave hit the battlefield, throwing both humans and Girons to the ground. For a moment, there was silence. The sky above seemed to shimmer, as if reality itself had bent. Rion could barely see, but he noticed the Giron commander staggering as if struck by an invisible force. Energy crackled in the air, and a low hum filled Rion's ears. In that chaos, Rion ran toward a half-buried alien ruin he had noticed earlier. He did not know what it was, only that it might save him. The ruin was strange and beautiful. Its walls glowed with faint blue light, and strange symbols moved along the surface like flowing water. Rion touched the walls cautiously. The energy from the ruins spread through his fingers and into his body. At first it burned, then it soothed every wound, every cut, every bruise. Rion collapsed to his knees, gasping as his armor reformed around him, shimmering but solid. He could not understand it, but he knew one thing: he was alive. Somehow, against all odds, he had survived. Hours passed, or maybe days. Time felt strange inside the ruin. The sounds of battle outside faded into distant echoes. Rion explored the interior. The walls were covered in carvings, showing creatures and humans together in strange harmony. He felt a connection he could not explain. It was as if this place remembered something long forgotten. Something important about humans and the Girons. Finally, he stepped outside. The battlefield was quiet. Smoke still rose, but there were no soldiers left. The plains were littered with wreckage, and the silence was heavy. Rion took a deep breath. He had survived, but at what cost? His unit was gone. His friends were gone. And yet he felt something inside him that he had never felt before. Hope Rion knew he could not stay on Arctis 4. He had to return to his people, to warn them, to fight again. But the energy in his body was changing him. His senses were sharper. He could see the faint energy trails left by Giron machines. He could hear the faint hum of the planet itself, as if it was alive. He realized that the ruin had not just healed him. It had given him something more. Something powerful. As Rion prepared to leave, he noticed movement in the distance. A shadow appeared on the horizon, moving quickly over the plains. He crouched behind a rock and watched. The figure was tall, armored, and unlike any Giron soldier he had seen before. It moved with purpose, and it seemed to sense him even though he was hidden. Rion's heart raced. He was not just being watched. He was being hunted. Rion ran, using the terrain to his advantage. He leaped over craters, slid down slopes, and ducked under falling debris. The figure followed, unrelenting, never pausing. Rion did not know why this being wanted him, only that he had to survive. Survival had become more than instinct. It had become destiny. At night, Rian found shelter in a canyon. The stars above Arctis 4 were strange and beautiful, different from any sky on Earth. He could see the faint outlines of other moons and distant planets. He thought of home, of the people he had left behind, and a fire grew inside him. Humans had always been underestimated, always thought to be weak, but he knew the truth. Humans were strong because they never gave up. Because even when all hope seemed lost, they fought. He slept fitfully, dreaming of the ruin. The carvings on the walls returned in his mind. He saw humans and Gerans together, not as enemies, but as allies. The dream felt real, as if it were a memory, not a vision. He woke with a start, feeling the energy inside him surge. His body felt light, his mind clear. He understood something he could not fully explain. He was alive for a reason. He had survived the impossible to do something important. Rian began to move again, traveling across the plains in search of other survivors, other clues. He scavenged what he could from the wreckage, using both human ingenuity and the strange alien energy that flowed through him. Machines that should have been useless responded to his touch, lights turning on, energy flowing where it had long been dormant. He realized that the ruin had not just healed him, it had awakened him. Days later, Rian came to a cliff overlooking a valley. Smoke rose from the trees, and he saw the faint outline of a Jaren patrol below. They had not found him yet, but they were close. He crouched, thinking carefully. The energy in him responded, alerting him to danger. He could see the path the patrol would take, predict their movements. He could fight them, but he did not want unnecessary killing. Humans did not thrive by destruction alone. They thrived by using their minds and their courage. Rian waited until nightfall, then moved quietly through the shadows. He avoided the patrol, following a hidden path that led to a river. The water was clear and cold, washing away the dust and sweat of the day. As he drank, he realized he had survived not just the battle, but the hunt that followed. He was alive, and he had a chance to return to the people who needed him. For the first time since the battle, Rian allowed himself to hope. The war was not over, but he had been given a second chance. A chance to change the future, to prove that humans were more than what anyone thought. Stronger, smarter, and unyielding. The battle had ended, but his journey had only just begun. High above the plains, unseen, a figure watched him. It was not human. Its eyes glowed with a strange light, and it moved with grace and power. It had seen Rian survive where others had died. It had heard the energy pulse within him, and it understood that this human soldier was no ordinary warrior. He was something different, something dangerous to the Jarans. Somewhere in the distance, a voice whispered, though there was no one around, "You were meant to be dead." The words carried fear, disbelief, and awe all at once. Rian did not hear them, but the air seemed to hum with their meaning. He had survived the impossible, and now the universe would take notice. Rian stood and looked out at the horizon. Fire still burned in the distance, but the stars above were calm and bright. He clenched his fists. Humans did not give up. Humans did not bow. And humans never stayed dead when their fight was not over, with the energy of the ruin flowing through him. Rian took his first steps toward the unknown. He would survive. He would fight. And he would prove that humanity could face anything, even the might of the Jarans. The plains of Arctis 4 were silent once more. But the story of the human soldier who should have died had just begun. Far above the burning plains of Arctis 4, in a palace of shining metal and crystal, Queen Alira sat upon her throne. The Jaran capital was alive with light, but the queen's mind was heavy with unease. Reports from scouts had reached her hours ago, telling of a human soldier seen alive on the battlefield. An impossibility. The humans had been defeated, their units destroyed, and the last transmissions had declared the soldier dead. Yet the reports could not be ignored. Queen Alira's advisors crowded around her, their voices urgent. "Your Majesty, the humans should not be able to survive the conditions of Arctis 4 alone. Our sensors confirm no human presence beyond the wreckage." Alira's gaze was steady, but her hands trembled slightly. "And yet they report him. she said softly. He is alive. One of the elders, Varric, spoke, his voice deep and commanding. It may be a trick. Humans are clever, but they cannot overcome our technology. Lyra shook her head. No, this is not a trick. Something old has awakened. The legend spoke of a human who would rise from death. I dismissed them as stories, but perhaps I was wrong. The legends were ancient, older than any living Jaren. They told of a human warrior whose survival would challenge the balance of power between their species. For centuries, the Jarens had ignored the warning, believing humans were too weak to matter. Yet Alira felt the truth in her bones. The soldier's survival was no accident. She summoned her personal scout, Kara, a young and skilled warrior known for her speed and stealth. You will go to Arctis 4, Alira commanded. Find this human soldier. Bring him to me alive. We must understand how he survives where none should. Kara bowed sharply. It will be done, Your Majesty. The queen watched as Kara left the palace, a shadow moving swiftly into the distance. She could not shake the fear building in her chest. For the first time in her life, Alira felt uncertainty. Humans had always been predictable, always following their instincts. But this soldier was different. Meanwhile, on Arctis 4, Rian moved through the ruins of the battlefield with caution. The sun rose slowly, casting long shadows across the plains. He had survived the first days after the battle, but he knew danger was still near. The energy inside him pulsed softly, guiding him. It was as if the planet itself was alive and helping him. Rian's mind returned to the ruins that had healed him. The blue light, the moving symbols, the carvings of humans and Jarens together, they had all seemed to speak to him, though he could not understand the language. He had felt a connection, a purpose that was larger than himself. Whatever it was, he had to see it through. Suddenly movement caught his eye. He froze. From a ridge, a figure emerged, moving quickly and silently across the plains. Rian crouched, hiding behind a rock, and watched. The figure was armored in black and silver, its eyes glowing faintly. It was fast, calculated, and clearly searching for him. Rian's heart pounded, but he kept calm. He had learned from the ruins how to sense energy, to feel the paths others would take. Using the knowledge the ruins had given him, he predicted the figure's movements and slipped through the shadows. The figure moved like a predator, scanning every crevice and ridge, but Rian was clever. He did not run blindly. He used the terrain, the rocks, and the ruined machines to stay hidden. Hours passed. The figure never gave up, but finally it stopped, scanning the area, confused. Rian realized he was being tested. This was no ordinary hunter. This was someone trained to track and capture, someone who would not fail. And yet he survived. The figure finally spoke, its voice calm but firm. You cannot hide forever, human. Rian remained silent, watching, waiting. The figure stepped into the light. She was a Jiran, but unlike the soldiers he had fought before. Her armor was sleek, and her movements were precise. Her eyes were curious, almost thoughtful. Rian recognized the intelligence in her gaze. I am Kara, she said. I am sent by your enemy, but also by necessity. Come with me. You cannot survive here alone. Rian hesitated. He had been taught never to trust a Jaren, and yet something in Kara's voice and her eyes felt different. There was no hatred, only purpose. He had survived impossible odds, and now he had to decide if he would trust this stranger. Finally, he nodded slowly. I will go, but only to survive, not to fight for you. Kara inclined her head. That is understood. Together they moved across the plains, avoiding the scattered patrols of Jaren forces. Kara was fast and silent, guiding him through hidden paths and secret tunnels. She explained little, only enough to keep him alive. Rian listened and learned, noting the patterns of the Jaren movements and their reliance on technology. As night fell, they reached a canyon where the stars reflected off the crystal walls. The air was cool and quiet. Rian felt the energy in his body respond, calming him and sharpening his senses. He realized he had been given more than survival. He had been given a chance to understand, to prepare, and perhaps to change the course of the war. Kara studied him carefully. "You are different," she said quietly. "There is something about you. Something I have not seen before. The Queen will know. She will see it in your eyes, in the energy you carry." Rian looked at her. "What do you mean?" She did not answer directly. "The Queen has a prophecy," she said. "It speaks of a human who should not survive. A human who would challenge the Sharan way. That human." Rian felt a chill run through him. He had survived battles, storms, and hunger. He had survived when death seemed certain. But the thought that he might be part of some ancient prophecy was overwhelming. "I am just a soldier," he said quietly. "I do not understand prophecies or legends." Kara smiled faintly. "Prophecies are not always understood at first, but they shape the future. And the Queen, she will fear you." Back in the capital, Queen Alira paced the golden floor of her throne room. Reports from her scouts were troubling. The human soldier's survival was no accident. Energy readings from Arctis 4 indicated that something ancient had awakened. Alira had dismissed the old legends, but now she felt the weight of history pressing upon her. "This is real," she said softly, more to herself than to anyone else. "He is alive. He carries something we do not understand, and he will come to us, one way or another." Her advisors tried to calm her, to argue that humans were weak, but Alira would not listen. She remembered the words of the seers. When the human rises, the balance will shift. The Queen will tremble, and the future will be uncertain. The Queen's fear was not just for her reign. It was for the survival of her people. Humans were unpredictable, strong in ways that could not be measured by technology or energy. And this human soldier had survived where others had failed. He had endured the impossible and come back stronger. Alira made her decision. She would not destroy him immediately. She would see him for herself. She would understand what made him different. And perhaps, if he truly carried the energy of the prophecy, she could control it, or at least guide it. Meanwhile, Rian and Kara traveled through the hidden valleys of Arctis 4. Rian's body was healing faster than normal. His wounds sealed as if touched by the planet itself. The energy within him pulsed gently, guiding his steps. He felt a connection to something much larger than himself, as if he were part of the planet, part of the universe. Kara noticed the changes. "You are not just surviving," she said. "You are becoming something more. The Queen will see this, and she will fear what you have become." Rian's thoughts drifted to his home, to the people he had left behind. He realized that surviving was no longer enough. He had to fight for more. He had to fight for the future of humanity, for the chance to prove that humans could face anything, even the might of the Gerans. They reached a hidden chamber where Kara had prepared a temporary shelter. Rian rested, feeling the energy in him settle into a steady rhythm. He closed his eyes and listened to the planet, feeling its heartbeat, its power, its secrets. When he opened his eyes, he knew that the journey ahead would be difficult. The Gerans would hunt him, the Queen would seek him, and the prophecy would unfold in ways he could not yet imagine. But Rian was ready. Humans had survived worse than this. Humans had always fought when all hope seemed lost. And Rian would not fail. High above them, Queen Alira prepared for the journey to Arctis 4. She would see the human soldier for herself. She would discover the truth of the prophecy. And she would face the one being who had survived death itself, the one who could change everything. The stage was set. The hunter and the hunted were now moving toward each other, bound by fate, prophecy, and the will to survive. And in the shadows of Arctis 4, a human soldier named Rian prepared to face the greatest challenge of his life. Rian woke before dawn. The chill of Arctis IV's morning seeped through the thin layer of his makeshift shelter. Kara had already begun her patrol of the surrounding canyon, moving with silent precision. Rian could hear the faint hum of the energy inside him, the pulse that had saved him in the ruins. It was as if the planet itself was alive, guiding him, giving him strength. He had survived so much, but now the challenges ahead seemed even greater. "Are you ready?" Kara asked, appearing at the edge of the shelter. Her armor reflected the faint light of the rising sun, and her eyes were alert. Rian nodded. I am ready to move. Kara studied him for a moment. Remember, we must avoid the patrols. They will not hesitate to kill any human they see. Even one as unusual as you. Rian glanced at her. Why are you helping me? You are Jiran. You should want me dead. Kara shook her head. Not all of us follow orders blindly. Some of us still think for ourselves. I am not sent to kill you. I am sent to understand. And I see something in you, human, that I have not seen before. The two of them moved cautiously through the rugged canyon paths. Rian could feel the energy inside him respond to the environment. He could sense the vibrations of the land, the faint signals of machines buried in the rocks, and even the subtle movements of creatures hiding in the shadows. The ruins had given him more than healing. They had awakened abilities he did not yet understand. Hours passed. They avoided patrols, crossed rivers, and climbed rocky ridges. Rian had learned to trust Kara's instincts, though he remained cautious. He had survived countless battles, but there was something about this Jaren warrior that made him feel both wary and curious. Finally, they reached a plateau overlooking a valley. Below, the remnants of a human convoy lay scattered. Fires burned quietly, and twisted metal reflected the sunlight. Rian's stomach tightened. These had been fellow soldiers, comrades who had fallen in the chaos of battle. He felt the familiar ache of loss, but also the strength that had kept him alive. Kara watched him silently. It is hard to see what you have survived, she said softly. But you have. You are alive, and that is what matters now. Rian nodded. I need to learn why. Why am I still alive? What is this energy inside me? Kara's eyes flickered. You carry something ancient. Something even the Queen fears. It is connected to your species, though the Jarens have long forgotten the truth. You are not just a soldier. You are part of a story that began long before this war. Rian frowned. I am just trying to survive. You're more than that, Kara said firmly. You will see. The longer we travel, the closer you come to understanding what you were meant to do. The day wore on. They camped briefly in the shade of a rocky outcrop, eating rations scavenged from the battlefield. Rian watched the sky change colors as the sun moved toward the horizon. He thought of home, of the people he had left behind, and of the prophecy Kara had mentioned. Survival had always been his first goal, but now he realized that destiny might demand more than survival. As night fell, the temperature dropped sharply. Kara and Rian huddled near a small fire. The flames cast flickering shadows across their faces. Rian felt the energy within him pulse, warming him and strengthening him. It was more than physical energy, it was awareness, understanding, clarity. He could feel the land, the air, and even the distant hum of the Jaren machines moving through the valley. Do you feel it too? He asked Kara. She nodded. Yes, it is rare, even for us. You are connected to something much older than this war. That is why the Queen fears you. That is why she must see you alive or dead. Rian stayed silent, thinking. He did not fully understand what Kara meant, but he felt the truth of it. The energy inside him was guiding him, shaping him, and giving him purpose. He had survived the impossible. Now he had to use his strength and mind to continue. The next morning, they continued their journey. They moved swiftly, carefully avoiding Jiran patrols and using the terrain to their advantage. Kara taught Rian to read the signs of the land, to predict the movements of enemies, and to use the environment as a shield. Rian absorbed everything, learning faster than he had ever imagined. By midday, they reached a narrow canyon where strange crystals jutted from the walls. The energy from the ruins seemed to resonate here, and Rian felt it strongly. His senses sharpened, and he could see faint trails of energy left by Jaren technology. He realized that he could sense these trails, predict their paths, and use them to avoid danger. Kara watched him closely. You are learning quickly. The energy inside you responds to the environment. It is as if you were made to survive here. Rian nodded. I feel it. It is guiding me, showing me the safest path. They had just passed the narrow canyon when a sudden alert sounded. Rian froze. Kara raised her hand, signaling him to stop. Ahead, a small Jaren patrol moved through the rocks. Their weapons were raised, scanning for any signs of human life. Rian's heart raced, but he remained calm. The energy inside him pulsed, and he could sense the movements of the patrol. He whispered to Kara, "We can avoid them if we move now." Kara nodded. Together, they slipped through the shadows, using the rocks and terrain to stay hidden. The patrol passed without noticing them. Rian felt a surge of confidence. The energy was not just healing him, it was giving him knowledge, insight, and an edge that no human soldier had ever had before as they moved deeper into the valley. Rian noticed something unusual. The energy trails led to a hidden structure partially buried in the ground. It resembled the ruins that had healed him, but larger and more complex. Rian's pulse quickened. He had to see it. Kara hesitated. "Be careful. The Queen may have placed defenses here. This place is not meant for humans." Rian ignored the warning and approached. The structure pulsed with blue light, and the carvings on the walls seemed to shift and move. Rian reached out, and the energy flowed into him, stronger than ever before. Images flashed in his mind, humans and Gerans working together. Powerful forces united, and a single human standing at the center, surrounded by energy. Rian staggered back. What? What is this?" Kara stepped beside him. "It is the truth of our past. Humans and Gerans were once connected. The energy inside you is the link between our species. That is why the Queen fears you. That is why you have survived." Rian's mind reeled. He had fought for survival, but now he realized that his purpose was greater. He was not just a soldier. He was a symbol, a bridge between two species, and the key to something much larger than himself. Suddenly, movement in the shadows caught his attention. A Geran warrior stepped forward, her eyes glowing. Rian recognized the uniform. It was an elite hunter, sent by the Queen herself. She moved swiftly, preparing to attack. Rian's pulse quickened, but he did not panic. The energy inside him surged, giving him speed and clarity. He moved with precision, dodging the attack and countering with a force that surprised even himself. The hunter stumbled, and Rian realized that he could fight in a way he never had before. Kara joined the battle. Her movements fluid and coordinated with his. Together, they drove the hunter back, forcing her to retreat. Rian felt a mix of exhilaration and fear. He had survived countless battles, but this was different. He was no longer just a soldier. He was becoming something more, something powerful. After the hunter retreated, Rian and Kara took a moment to catch their breath. The energy from the structure continued to flow through him, strengthening his body and sharpening his mind. He looked at Kara and said quietly, "I understand now. I am alive for a reason. I have to continue to see this through." Kara nodded. "Yes, and the Queen will know soon. She will fear what you have become. But that fear is not always bad. It can change everything." As night fell over the valley, Rian and Kara set up a small camp. The stars above were bright and clear, and the energy in the ground pulsed gently beneath them. Rian felt a connection to the planet, to Kara, and to something much larger than himself. He was no longer just surviving. He was preparing for what was to come. High above, the Queen watched from her palace. Sensors detected the movement of her hunter units and the presence of the human soldier. Her eyes narrowed. Rian was more than she had imagined. He was alive, powerful, and connected to something ancient. The prophecy was real, and the balance of power was shifting. Rian slept that night under the stars, his body and mind strengthened by the energy of the planet. He dreamed of humans and Gerans standing together, of a future where war was not the only path, and of a destiny he could not yet fully understand. The next day, their journey would continue. The hunter units would be relentless. The Queen would take notice. The challenges ahead would test everything Rian had learned. But he was ready. Humans had survived impossible odds before. He would do so again. Rian and Kara moved forward, their path uncertain, but their purpose clear. The human soldier who should have been dead was alive, and his story was only beginning. Rian and Kara moved silently through the shadows of the Geran capital. The city stretched out like a glittering web of crystal and metal, alive with energy. Patrols of armored warriors passed below, their glowing eyes scanning for any sign of intruders. Kara led him through hidden passages, pathways that even the most skilled hunters rarely discovered. "This way," Kara whispered, turning into a narrow corridor. "The Queen's palace is heavily guarded, but beneath it lies something old. Something she hides even from her council." Rion's heart pounded. He had survived battles, storms, and ambushes, but now he felt a new kind of tension. They were not just trespassing in enemy territory, they were entering the very heart of power. Yet the energy inside him pulsed gently, guiding him, giving him clarity. He trusted it. The corridor opened into a hidden chamber. The walls were covered with ancient symbols glowing faintly. Rion reached out, touching the carvings. A surge of energy coursed through him, and for a moment he saw visions, humans and gerans together, working side by side. The images shifted and changed, showing battles, peace, and strange experiments that seemed to connect the two species. "This place. It is old," Rion whispered. "Older than anything I have seen." "What is this?" Kara nodded. "It is the truth the Queen has hidden. Long ago, humans and gerans were connected. The energy you carry is a part of that connection. The Queen fears it because it can change everything." Wine's mind raced. The ruins on Arctis 4 had healed him, had awakened something inside him. Now he understood that it was not just power, it was knowledge, a link to an ancient past. "So I am not just surviving," he said. "I am part of something larger." Kara's eyes softened. "Yes, and that is why you must see the rest. Follow me." They moved deeper into the chamber, descending a spiral staircase carved from crystal. The air grew cooler and the energy stronger. Rion felt it in every fiber of his being, as if the planet and the building itself were alive. At the bottom, they entered a massive hall. The hall was unlike anything Rion had ever seen. Tall pillars stretched to the ceiling, and the floor shimmered with a soft blue light. At the center lay a pool of liquid energy, glowing and rippling as if it were breathing. Rion approached cautiously. The energy seemed to respond to him, moving gently toward him. "This is the heart of the old world," Kara said. "Here is where the first humans and gerans shared knowledge, shared power. Here is where the connection began." Rion knelt beside the pool, reaching out. As his fingers touched the surface, memories and images flooded his mind. He saw humans and gerans together, creating technology, exploring planets, and sharing knowledge. Then he saw the war begin, the species split, and the energy buried beneath layers of secrecy and fear. Kara watched him closely. "You can feel it, can't you? The energy remembers you, Rion. It knows you are the one who can restore the bond." Rion stood, overwhelmed but determined. "If this is true, then the Queen's fear is justified. I am not just a soldier. I am the link." Suddenly the hall trembled. Heavy footsteps echoed from above. The Queen herself, Alira, had discovered their presence. She descended the staircase, her armor shining, eyes wide with a mixture of shock and awe. "You," she said, her voice trembling. "You are meant to be dead." Rion stepped forward, keeping his hands visible. "I am alive. I do not know why, but I am. And I am learning what I am meant to do." Alira's gaze flicked between Rion and the pool of energy. Her advisors had warned her that the human soldier was alive. But seeing him here, standing before the source of ancient power, shook her. "You carry the energy of our past," she said softly. "The connection we lost long ago." How? How is this possible? Rion felt the energy surge within him, aligning with the pool. "I do not know entirely, but I can feel it. The connection between humans and gerans, it is still here. It can be restored. We can end the war and rebuild what was lost." The Queen stepped closer, studying him. "And you expect me to believe this? That a single human can undo centuries of division?" "I am not just a human," Rion said, his voice steady. "I am part of something larger. The energy within me, the knowledge of the old world, it guides me. You can choose to fight me, or you can choose to see the truth and change with me." Lyra hesitated. Her advisors whispered nervously, urging caution, urging action, But she saw something in Rian that she had never seen before in any human or Giron. Strength, courage, and a spark of wisdom that transcended species. The queen's voice softened. If what you say is true, then the energy you carry could unite our people. But the council, they will not agree. They will see you as a threat. Kara stepped beside Rian. We have already survived threats, Your Majesty. Together we can show them that the past can be restored, and that humans and Gerons can be allies again. Alira looked at the two of them, then at the pool of energy. She reached out, touching the surface. The energy rippled and surged, responding to her presence. She gasped. Memories of the ancient connection flooded her mind, visions of humans and Gerons building together, sharing knowledge, exploring the stars as one. Tears filled her eyes. I forgot, she whispered. I forgot what we once were, and I feared it was lost forever. Rian stepped forward. It is not lost. It is waiting for us to choose the right path. You can lead your people, Queen Alira. We can end the war together. Alira's eyes met his. If we do this, it will change everything. My council will resist. The queen you see here may not survive their judgment. I understand, Rian said. But this is bigger than us. Bigger than fear, bigger than anger, bigger than revenge. Humanity survives because we never stop. Gerons survive when they embrace knowledge. Together, we can survive as one. The queen stepped back from the pool, her resolve hardening. Then we begin, she said. We will awaken the council to the truth. We will show them the energy, the connection, and the path forward. But we must act carefully. There are those who will try to stop us, who will see this as betrayal. Rian nodded. Then we prepare. We learn, we teach, and we guide. The war will not end with destruction. It will end with understanding, with unity. Kara looked at Rian, admiration clear in her eyes. You have changed, human. You are no longer just a soldier. You are the bridge. Rian felt the energy pulse stronger than ever. The ruins had awakened him, the journey had tested him, and now he understood his purpose. He was not merely surviving, he was leading, guiding, and preparing to change the future. The chamber beneath the palace vibrated with energy. The ancient power of the planet, the knowledge of the old world, and the potential of two species united filled the air. Rian and Kara stood at the center, and Queen Alira joined them. Together, they felt the pulse of something greater than themselves, a chance to rebuild, to restore, and to heal centuries of division. Outside, the city of the Gerons continued its routines. Unaware of the events unfolding beneath the throne, soldiers patrolled, machines hummed, and the queen's advisors whispered. Oblivious to the fact that the future was shifting beneath their feet, Rian took a deep breath. The council will resist, he said. But if we show them the truth, they will have no choice but to follow. Humans and Gerons can work together again. We can survive together, Alira nodded. Then we begin the preparations. We awaken the council carefully, and we awaken our people to the past they have forgotten. The energy will guide us, and we will face whatever resistance comes together. For the first time in centuries, hope filled the chamber beneath the throne. The war-torn past, the fear, the hatred, could all be rewritten. And Rian, the human who should have been dead, stood at the center of it, ready to lead, ready to survive, and ready to change the course of history. The journey was far from over. Battles awaited, choices awaited, and the council's judgment awaited. But the truth had been revealed. The energy had been awakened. And the human soldier who had survived the impossible was no longer just a survivor. He was a symbol, a link, and a hope for a future that both species could share. The chamber beneath the Geron throne pulsed with blue energy, illuminating the faces of Rian, Kara, Queen Alira. The ancient power flowed like a river, connecting everything in the room. It was a living force, one that carried knowledge, memory, and potential. Rian could feel it in every fiber of his being. The energy was alive. It was waiting for the choices of those who had survived. The council will not accept this easily, Alira said quietly. her voice steady but firm. They will see you as a threat, Rian. They will want to destroy the human who carries their past within him. Rian nodded. Then we must show them the truth. Not through words alone, but through the energy itself. If they can see what was lost, perhaps they will understand. Kira stepped closer. We do not know how they will react. Some may fight, some may resist. You must be ready. Rian clenched his fists, feeling the energy surge inside him. He had survived death, the battlefield, the hunt, and the trials of the ruins. Nothing could intimidate him now. He had a purpose, and that purpose was bigger than himself. The doors of the chamber opened and the council entered. High-ranking Jaren leaders moved with authority, their glowing eyes fixed on Rian. Whispers ran through the group. They had expected a dead human, a defeated enemy. But here he stood, alive, glowing faintly with energy that was not their own. You dare come here? One council member demanded, his voice sharp and accusing. This human was destroyed in battle. He should not exist. Rian stepped forward, keeping his posture calm and open. I am alive. Not by chance, but because the energy of this planet and the knowledge of our shared past has kept me here. You fear me because you do not understand me. I am not your enemy. I am a link between humans and Jarens, and together we can restore what was lost. The council murmured in disbelief. One member, Varric, stepped forward. Restore what? Our species has been at war for centuries. We have built strength through separation. And you, a single human, claim to hold the key? Rian looked at him directly. I do not hold the key alone. The key is the energy we share, the history we have forgotten, and the choices we make now. If we work together, we can end the war. We can survive. We can thrive. Alira stepped beside him, placing a hand on the pool of energy. He speaks the truth, she said firmly. The energy beneath the palace carries memories of our past, a time when humans and Jarens were allies. The separation, the war, it was not natural. It was a choice born of fear and misunderstanding. Now we have a chance to change that. The council shifted uneasily. Some members whispered to one another, others glared, and a few seemed genuinely intrigued. The energy in the chamber pulsed stronger, reacting to the attention and the doubt of the council. One of the council elders, Saren, spoke. You expect us to abandon centuries of tradition, to trust a human we were told to destroy? Why should we believe anything he says? Rian took a deep breath. Because the energy itself will show you. See the past. See the truth. Humans and Jarens were never enemies. The division is artificial. The energy can guide us back to unity if we let it. Alira nodded. Do you not feel it, council members? The energy responds to him. It reacts to humans and Jarens alike. It carries knowledge, understanding, and power. We cannot ignore it. Varric's eyes narrowed. Power is dangerous. The human may survive, but he cannot be trusted. If he wields this energy, he could destroy us all. Yurin's voice grew firm but calm. I do not want to destroy. I want to unite. I want to give both species a future where fear does not rule. You can continue the war, continue to see humans as enemies, or you can see the truth, embrace the energy, and change the future. The chamber pulsed again, brighter this time. The energy spread from the pool, flowing through the floor and walls, touching every council member. Visions appeared in their minds, humans and Jarens building together, exploring worlds, sharing knowledge, and thriving side by side. For the first time, they saw what had been lost, what had been forgotten, and what could be regained. A silence fell. The energy had spoken louder than words. Some council members were awed, others fearful, and a few, like Saren, seemed to hesitate, considering the possibility of change. Alira raised her hand. We must decide. We can continue the war, or we can embrace the truth. The energy has awakened the connection that was lost. It responds to Rian, to all of us. The choice is ours. Varric's face darkened. And if we refuse... Rian stepped closer, his voice calm but powerful. If you refuse, the energy will continue to grow. It cannot be ignored. It will challenge us, test us, and force change. Survival is not found in fear. It is found in understanding, in courage, and in the willingness to face what is difficult. You can resist, but the future will find a way anyway. The council murmured, tension filling the chamber. Rian felt the energy within him pulse in response to their uncertainty. It was alive, aware, and waiting for the right choice. He could feel the potential of unity, the strength that came from understanding, and the hope of ending the centuries-long war. Saren stepped forward, eyes wide. I see it now. The visions, the past, it is real. Humans and Gerans can be more than enemies. We can be allies again. Varric hesitated, but Alira's presence and Rian's calm resolve began to influence him. Slowly he nodded. Perhaps we've been wrong. The energy cannot be ignored. It may be time to consider a new path. One by one, the council members began to accept the truth. The energy flowed through them, calming fears, showing knowledge, and bridging centuries of separation. Rian could feel the change in the air, a shift from fear and resistance to possibility and hope. Alira turned to Rian, her eyes shining. You have done what none of us could. You have survived, you have awakened the energy, and you have shown the council the truth. But there is still one choice to make. Rian nodded, understanding. The energy was powerful, but it required guidance. It required someone to choose to lead, to unite, and to show both species the way forward. He stepped to the center of the chamber, placing his hands on the glowing pool. The energy surged into him, and he felt the connection of all humans and Gerans, past and present. He could see their hopes, their fears, their potential. He could feel the strength of humanity, the wisdom of the Gerans, and the power of unity. I choose, Rian said clearly, to guide this energy, not to control it, to show both humans and Gerans that we can survive together. We can build a future where fear does not rule. We can end this war, not with destruction, but with understanding. The energy pulsed, responding to his choice. Light filled the chamber, flowing through the council, Alira, and Kara, the visions of the past, present and future intertwined, showing a path of unity, growth, and cooperation. Alira smiled, tears in her eyes. Then we begin. Together, we will lead our people into a new era. We will teach them the truth of our past and the possibilities of our future. Kara placed a hand on Rian's shoulder. You have survived everything, human. You were meant to be dead, but now you are the hope for both our species. We will follow your lead. The council members nodded, one by one, their resistance fading as the energy continued to flow. They had seen the truth. They had felt the power of unity, and they had accepted that the war could end if only they chose to follow a different path. Rian took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility but also the strength of possibility. He had survived death, the battlefield, and countless challenges. Now he would guide humanity and the Gerans toward a future where cooperation, understanding, and courage ruled. The energy settled, glowing softly in the chamber beneath the throne. Rian, Alira, and Kara stood together, ready to face the challenges ahead. The council had accepted the truth, but the journey to unify two species would not be easy. They would encounter resistance, doubt, and fear. But the seed had been planted, and hope had been awakened. Outside, City of the Gerans continued its routines, unaware of the transformation occurring beneath the throne. Yet the energy that had been hidden for centuries now flowed freely. Carrying the promise of a new era, Rian looked at Alira. We have a lot to do, he said, a determined smile on his face. Alira nodded. Yes, but for the first time, we have a chance to succeed. The past has been revealed, the connection restored, and the future awaits our choices. Together, we can guide our people toward a better world. Kara smiled. And we will survive, human. Together, we will make sure that both our species thrive. Rian clenched his fists, feeling the energy within him surge once more. He had been meant to die, but he had survived. He had been tested, challenged, and awakened. Now he was ready to lead, to fight not with weapons, but with courage, wisdom, and unity. The chamber beneath the throne glowed brighter, the energy spreading through the palace, the city, and the planet. Rian stood at the center, a symbol of hope, strength, and survival. Humans and Gerans had faced centuries of conflict. But now, with understanding and unity, a new era had begun. The human soldier who should have been dead had survived. He had become a bridge between worlds, a leader for both species, and a living proof that humanity's spirit could endure, inspire, and transform even the most powerful of enemies.